Have you ever tried to make name recognition for yourself? Well, on today's English through Story lesson, I am going to teach you what name recognition means, as well as some other important vocabulary and English phrases. Well, hello, all of my students. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Jay, and welcome to another English lesson here on the channel. I hope you're ready for some learning and laughter. We're about to dive into today's story. Let's start with the story. Donnie stacked burger wrappers, and practiced greeting customers, hoping for name recognition that might lead to a manager's badge. So when we talk about name recognition, name recognition has to do with a person that is trying to make their name more familiar to other people. So at the present moment, someone may not be known, but because of their hard work and efforts, they're trying to let other people know that they are reliable, they are trustworthy, or they are good at what they do. That's building name recognition. Somewhat like here on the channel. The more you watch my videos, the more you get to know Jay Barksdale. My name is beginning to mean something to you. That's name recognition. Okay. Now notice he stacked burger wrappers and practiced greeting customers. So Donnie works at a restaurant, and burger wrappers are wrappers or pieces of paper or plastic that restaurant workers put around a particular sandwich before they bring it to a customer. Okay. Now notice he wanted to get a manager's badge. In other words, he was trying to become a manager at his place of employment. Okay, he's just a regular worker. Now he wants to get into supervising other people. Let's find out what happens. During the dinner rush, he would fumble trays, pop soda lids, and scatter fries across the counter. Okay, so during the dinner rush. So a dinner rush is the time at a restaurant when they are most busy. So when people are on break from their job and everyone at the same time during the same hour comes to a restaurant, that is considered rush time. Somewhat like on the highway in traffic, rush hour, when everyone is in their car on the expressway at the exact same time. Notice he would fumble trays. So to fumble means he wouldn't hold steady. Okay, he was moving things around. He was bringing people their food and he would be fumbling. Okay, he would mishandle whatever he was holding. All right. To scatter, he would scatter fries. So he would drop people's French fries. And French fries are the best when they are hot and you want them to be presented to you correctly. But Donnie, he had what we called slippery fingers. Okay. He couldn't hold on to anything. Let's find out what happens. At the register, he bungled the change, stared at the blinking till, and apologized to the growing line. Poor Donnie. Doesn't seem like he's going to get that manager spot with his clumsy behavior. Notice he bungled the change. So he had change in his hand and he was probably trying to hand it to the customer and he would drop it. Okay. He was juggling and bundling the change. Okay. He stared at the blinking till. So his register had lights on it that would blink. And Donnie can be described as being absent-minded. He was just staring, staring at the till, just off into a distance, okay? And so he apologized for his behavior to the growing line. In other words, he would convey or communicate that he was sorry for the way he behaved. After closing, the manager pulled him aside and admonished him to tighten up his habits or to do better or forget the promotion. In other words, the manager was saying, if you don't do better, you can forget about getting that manager's position. Okay. So we would call that chastisement. Okay. He was correcting him from bad behavior. Okay. Donnie went home and rehearsed orders in the mirror. Okay. So Donnie doesn't give up. He's persistent. He's determined or dogged, trying to project poise and speed. So Donnie, he was a good worker. He was trying to do better. So he rehearsed. He would look in the mirror and he would practice. Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order? Welcome to McDonald's. How may I help you? He would rehearse. Okay. Poise has to do with someone who is confident. Okay, you're standing up straight, your head is up. Okay, you have good posture. Hello, can I take your order? I'm so glad you came to McDonald's. Poise. The next day, his slip-ups made customers laugh. And his playful voice and exaggerated bows drew grins. Okay, so his slip-ups, his mistakes, his playful voice. So he probably had a high-pitched voice. He sounded different or funny when he talked. Drew grins. In other words, people smiled or laughed whenever he did something. They would hear him talk and see him move, and they would they would laugh, okay? They would just say, look at him. A parent asked if he did parties. And Donnie felt a spark of showmanship. He had never felt behind the fryer. So someone saw how humorous he was and asked him, do you do parties? Can I pay you to come and amuse us, entertain us, make us laugh? Okay. And he felt showmanship. He was like, I am pretty funny. Maybe I can do that. By the weekend, he decided to pivot or change directions. He wanted to go in a different direction in his career. He wasn't thinking about the manager's position anymore. Now he was thinking about doing something else. That's what we call a pivot, okay? When something's not going the way you planned, you have to pivot or switch up or change directions. By the weekend, he decided to pivot, renting a bright costume, learning slapstick routines, and booking his first gig. So a costume is an outfit that you put on. Slapstick routines. So comedy that involves being physical. Have you ever heard of what is it? Moe, Larry, and Curly, the Three Stooges? They do things animated to make you laugh. Okay, the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they move their hands. Slapstick. Okay, things that garner entertainment. Booking his first gig. So to book means to schedule. Okay, so someone would see what he did and they would book him or call him for an appointment. His first gig or his first paid assignment. Okay, that's a gig. Tips piled up. The pay was more lucrative than the grill. And Donnie finally stood tall in a job that fit him. Tips, okay? So when people give money for good effort, okay? Somebody gave me a tip here on the channel last year. I think someone gave me a $5 tip. They did. That was kind of great, okay? So it was more lucrative, or he made more money being a comedian than he was working at the fast food restaurant on the grill. Okay, speaking of tips, if you're enjoying my style of teaching, I have a Patreon that you can show support. The link is down in the description, and that is where you can get all of my lessons, my stories, and other PDFs on the Patreon, and exclusive videos that I do not post here on YouTube. So you can check that out down in the description or on my website at jbarksdaletv.com. Okay, let's finish it up. He finally stood tall in a job that fit him. In other words, now he was having more confidence in what he did, even though he was clumsy. So he found a perfect fit. That's what we say. Oh, you found something that works for you. Wow. Donnie made a pivot from working at a restaurant to doing comedic slapstick gigs. Awesome. Let's read through today's story at a faster pace, and then we'll be done for today. Donnie stacked burger wrappers and practiced greeting customers, hoping for name recognition that might lead to a manager's badge. During the dinner rush, he would fumble trays, pop soda lids, and scatter fries across the counter. At the register, he bundled the change, stared at the blinking till, and apologized to the growing line. After closing, the manager pulled him aside and admonished him to tighten up his habits or forget the promotion. Donnie went home and rehearsed order calls in the mirror, trying to project poise and speed. The next day, his slip-ups made customers laugh, and his playful voices and exaggerated bows drew grins. A parent asked if he did parties, and Donnie felt a spark of showmanship he had never felt behind the fryer. By the weekend, he decided to pivot, renting a bright costume, learning slapstick routines, and booking his first gig. Tips piled up, the pay was more lucrative than the grill, and Donnie finally stood tall in a job that fit him. Well, I hope you have enjoyed today's story about Donnie and how he made a pivot in his career. Now, if you ever have any questions or comments, you can leave them down in the comments section. Or as I stated earlier, join the Patreon and I answer questions more quickly there. And I offer other content that I don't offer here on YouTube. Well, with that being said, if today's lesson has helped you, be sure to share it with a friend. And as always, I hope you join me on my next English lesson. I'll see you then.